may have just lost the last 20 minutes.
I mean, it's still there. Cast got
I
it.
didn't realize that this would be an issue. Is it still there, though?
I mean, I don't know. If not, we're going to have to start the outline over from the top.
Yeah, we have to start the outline over from the
What are we going to do for our cold open? We had like 30 minutes of choice content.
Okay, listen. It really wasn't that good.
But
we need
it
to be
was
honest.
stupid, and that's what people are paying for.
Welcome to Bonus Experience. We're a podcast with a deeper look at the play experience and the finer details of running and writing games. We are queer women speaking with authority about games.
Yes, we swear. Die mad about it.
Get the introductions out of the way now.
Right. I'm Monica, industry professional, blah, 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 blah. Exalted Essence mechanical designer behind on deadlines.
I'm Ray, also an industry professional, Exalted Essence mechanical designer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have any deadlines left. Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha.
Ha 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 ha.
Lucky you.
All right, so quick.
Let's get this out of the way.
We have to get this out of the way because we lost like 20 minutes of audio because I'm a dummy.
Whoops. All right, let's get this out of the way. D&D is based on racist assumptions and has a lot of really hard right and white supremacist coding hard baked into it. On the second pass, I got it right.
Nailed that on the second pass.
Thank you. That's not up for debate. It's just true. And there's a lot of rad, marginalized folks out there doing their level best to try to excise that from it. We salute them. We're proud of them. Good job, you guys. We're glad you're doing that good work. This is not about that, and this is not about them. So we're gonna talk about something else more relevant to us.
Right.
Also, Mike Merles is a fuck, and
Yes.
let's forget he existed.
Yes, forget who existed.
Yep, precisely. Now on to today's topic. Hey Ray.
Yeah.
Never mind. I'm getting really tired of seeing people on Twitter innocently praise the Dungeons and Dragons for being a queer game. Want to yell about it with me?
Absolutely.
Or, better yet, why don't we just tell people about games that do support queer experiences?
I'm for it.
So let's open this with a big disclaimer that if you're a queer person who has had an uplifting experience playing D&D with your group, we love and support you. We think that's great. We are beyond thrilled that your gaming experience made you feel loved and welcome. But this episode is about broadening everyone's horizons and getting recognition out there for content made by queer creators and or with queer themes baked in. For the purposes of this episode, we're going to stick primarily with air quotes traditional games, which are games that hew closer to the design paradigms espoused in D&D than things that might be further afield. There are tons of queer indie games, and we're going to shout out a few at the end.
Yeah.
I want to focus more on these traditional type games for the kind of people who are already playing a wide variety of games, but just can't seem to get their game group to make the leap away from whatever D&D you're playing. Also, that includes like Pathfinder and Starfinder. If you're like, I play other games, I play Pathfinder and Starfinder. You're still playing D&D, sorry.
Ooh.
That's my hot
takes.
I think it's much easier for a group to take the leap from like 5th edition to like Scion than it is to take the leap from like 5th edition to, I don't know, Bluebeard's Bride. That's throwing someone into the deep end. So we're giving you the little floaties so that you can help your group learn to do some other cool things that maybe meshes more with their real life experiences without tossing them into something that might be a culture shock.
And with that, we've caught up to the audio that we lost.
Yeah,
So,
we did it. We did it in like 5 minutes. I'm really proud of us.
Yeah. All right. What do we consider to be queer about a game? Like, what makes a game queer?
So I think I'm going to go right ahead and define this as a game that satisfies any of the following. 1, it centers queer stories or themes. We'll talk more about what that means later. 2, it includes important or signature queer characters. 3, it makes a point to include queer characters in examples and art. And 4, has queer authors on staff.
So, to be clear, to be sure, in D&D, you can be queer. The game doesn't, like, disallow it. But other than a few basically throwaway mentions in the source material, there's no real explicit queerness. You have to make it yourself. Personally speaking, this is one area of gaming where I am tired of changing it if I want to. You and I deserve more than a passing mention or a sentence to the effect of, oh, sure, you exist. Which is why Monica and I are here to talk about a couple of gay games.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out we're queer women speaking with authority about games, and so we're gonna do that right now. So let's roll out Queer Game Exhibit A that will probably be not too hard for your players who've only ever played D&D to transfer over to if they really like this sort of thing. Scion 2nd Edition.
Hey,
this here is a game we both worked on. And it's pretty fucking gay.
Yeah.
Ray, you want to help me talk about why Scion is so gay?
Scion's so gay. All right. In Scion, all myths are true. Like, every word capitalized. All myths are true. That's the setting. Especially the ones that don't have fucked up Western notions of gender and sexuality. Well, and even those, since most gods wear gender like a cosplay prop. A lot of the ready-made characters or quote signature characters are canonically queer. This isn't subtext, like it's in there. In Rhiannon's write-up, it mentions that she's got, like, tattoos based on her girlfriends. Sigrun is canonically trans, like, in her origin story. That goes into detail about how, like, Loki carved her from an ash tree, completely unaware of the fact that ash trees have gender, and Sigrun was fucking pissed and, like, had to recarve her body. Every RMC I got to put my hands on for Dragon is queer, and I'm very excited for you guys to meet them, by the way. Scion, especially, Scion character arcs begin with learning more of your identity and your history, and end with a self-actualization or an apotheosis into a whole new identity or existence. You start off as someone who you assume is, quote, normal, regular, like everyone else, and then you end up with some sort of visitation showing that, no, there's actually something different about you. And in Scion, what's different about you is that you are related to a god or adopted by a god or something along those lines. So you kind of have to grow into this new understanding of yourself. Sure, like, you'll fight titans and shit, but Scion is also about learning who you are and recontextualizing your personal history or your personal mythology and directly connecting it into the mythology of the greater world. You begin as something of an outsider to this culture of the gods and end with not just connections to that culture, but also injecting it with your own new mythologies.
Man, that was really good.
I'm an English major.
I mean, I am too. Oh, wow, that was really good.
Hey, thank you. Scion, very gay.
Very gay. And like, there's gay characters in the art.
Mm-hmm.
The starter adventure involves a polyamorous queer triad.
Yeah, like everyone in that friggin' adventure is gay. Like,
it's
I
gay,
made
yeah.
sure that everybody was queer in some way.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the characters is a trans man, and I didn't want to, like, make it into, I don't know. You have to read it.
Yeah.
I did my best. I did my best to make it as gay as I fucking could.
Yeah. And pretty much that's every book that I've been on the line is like,
Yes.
It's real fucking gay. Also, Scion is great if you are already a fan of like the Percy Jackson series, which I understand is also kind of gay.
Yes.
I've never read them myself. I'm too old.
Rick
Not that I'm too old for
like,
YA books, but like I was past being a young adult when that was a thing.
Rick Riordan is like the only straight ally. Other than our whoever of our bonus babies are also straight allies. We appreciate you very much.
Oh,
anyway,
Cyrus says Percy Jackson was my first exposure to a gay person in media. Actually, okay, so
oh, yeah,
all right, cool. So yes, if you like Percy Jackson, and The Wicked and the Divine, both of those are real good inspiration for playing a Scion game. So if you're trying to get your friends into trying something else, maybe you want to try Scion by pointing out that it's like those things. Scion also is, a traditional game. It's got combat I won't say just like D&D because it's very different, but like it's got a defense value and you roll for things and like there are critical effects and you have stats like strength and all that. I think it's called might. It's not called strength, but like it's
you
the
have
same
like
idea.
Attributes and skills.
Yep.
And you have to roll a pool instead of rolling a d20, but it's pretty easy to like get around the whole like you have to roll a certain number of successes over this number, and it's really not that much of a stretch.
No, it's really not that much of a stretch. It would be pretty easy to make that jump. Oh, Beth brought up Phaedra from Kushiel's Legacy, who is a bi character. We stand a bi icon. And you could also play a Kushiel's Legacy game with Scion pretty easily. Like, it would probably be more an origin level game, but you could still do it. Also, yes, mine was also Sailor Uranus.
Sailor Uranus.
You could probably also use Scion for a Sailor Moon game, though I don't know that I would.
Oh my god. Anyway, that just gave me a really great idea for a fan pantheon for Scion. Anyway.
I think it's time to move on to Queer Game Exhibit B.
Yeah?
Yeah. Which is fanfare. Margaret, could you put in like a trumpet fanfare right now?
She won't. She never does.
How about a gong sound? Margaret, please.
Hang on, wait. I might if you want to wait.
All right.
For me,
Do you have a?
Let me see if I have something we can.
Do you have something? Okay, perfect. That's
that?
That's exactly what we needed.
Okay.
We're gonna talk positively about Exalted for once. No.
All right. Okay,
I mean, yes, but in this case, no. And normally we rag on Exalted a lot.
Yeah.
But now we're gonna take a breather from using it as a bad example, and actually use it as a good example. A fantastic example, even.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
Exalted has been aggressively showing gay people as being centered and existing in creation, capital C, that's the name of the setting, since 2001.
Mm-hmm.
The current edition's core book, which is 3rd edition, has a trans man on the cover. The 3rd edition Dragon-Blooded book has a black lesbian on the cover. Lunars, which is not out yet, but is, like, the manuscript is available for Kickstarter backers and all that, prominently features a number of non-binary and trans characters. Don't at me.
Also, as of 3rd edition, one of the god figures of the setting's dominant religion is a trans woman, and that's pretty fucking great.
Wait, who?
Danad. Danad.
Yeah,
The water dragon.
Shit, you're right. I totally forgot.
Man. And also the realm is a matriarchy, which, okay, that's not like better, but it's still like a fun subversion.
I mean, at least 3rd edition remembered what that actually meant this time, instead of in previous editions where they were like, hey, the realm is ruled by women and it's a matriarchy and matrilineal line matters. Literally every important signature character is a dude except this one person.
Yeah, fucking, yeah. Anyway.
Also, like, because the realm is a matriarchy and because, like, reproduction is important, Dragon-Blooded pass on their power through genetics.
Yes.
Which sounds like I'm flirting with eugenics here, but that's really not how it goes. There were important sidebars on, like, how do you culturally handle characters who are gay, and how do you culturally handle characters who are trans, because those two things sort of get in the way of making babies sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, and the two sidebars that talk about those things were both written by a gay person and a trans person, and they're, like, really thoughtful, and presents that in a cool, like, this is something you can engage with light, and not in a weird, creepy, bad way.
For all that we may kind of pick on Exalted like a younger sibling, the changes made to the 3rd edition setting have been fucking top notch, honestly. And Exalted has been doing its best, which is just a great sentence just like on its own. Exalted has been doing its best to portray a fantasy based on world mythology, not just Western mythology. We're not talking Lord of the Rings, elves, and orcs. We're talking about literally everything else. It's a setting full of very diverse, vibrant cultures with their own views on sexuality and gender. And if you've been playing Exalted for as long as I have, the first things that probably jump to your mind are the Tia in the West or the Dareth of the Delzon, which aren't even really great examples. And what I get to say is, like, they're not the only ones. I can just point to those, like, we have those. They're not the best, though.
I mean, those two things have been problematique in the past, as both of them are, like, the Tia are basically trans men culturally, so, like, the West, parts of the West used to be really misogynistic, and so there were a whole bunch of badass defab folks who were like, well, we're men now, fuck you.
Right.
And the Delzon have, like, a culture that's based around really strict gender roles, and so the Dareth are people who are like, well, I'm not either of those things, fuck you. Yeah,
their gender roles are not based on any sort of biological configuration.
Right.
Basically, they leave it up to choice. Like, would you like to be a man or a woman, or neither?
The way I just described them is a way to present them as of 2020. It is not how they were presented in the past.
No.
That is why they are problematique. And actually, I've been talking about this a lot lately, because I, am working on Exalted Essence. You're working on Exalted Essence. It's been on my mind. what White Wolf did in the past was be progressive in a really transgressive way. It wasn't always the best representation because, it was the early aughts and unfortunately written by a lot of white straight dudes. But they did go, fuck you. There are trans people and gay marriage and people of color, and that's not nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's up to us, the current people shaping the line, to make that rep not as troublesome as it used to be.
And, not to toot the horn of the people paying me, they're doing a pretty fucking good job.
I mean, yeah.
Hiring, like, a bunch of, like, queer, gender nonconforming, like, developers, writers, contributors to basically not just vet it, but create their own, like, storylines and history for this game that's supposed to be representative of the whole world's mythology. So, my turn to get all literary theory again. Exalted, like Scion, can be about recontextualizing your identity and reclaiming your history. It depends on which of the exalt types you're playing as. Solars and Lunars have very contemporary, quote, queer storylines. They're almost universally maligned by the world due to institutionalized prejudice, which is usually backed up by the dominant religion. And often they have to scrubble. Often they have to.
That's those two words together. Just don't say them. It's
often
just
they have to
now.
scrubble to learn the truth of who they are, the culture they've inherited, their history, all of that. Lunars are fun because they're more on the angry side of that, like the revolution side, the angry gets shit done side. And then Gatimians are, can I talk about Gatimians?
Yeah, Neil spilled all the beans on the Story Told podcast about them, so now you can talk
Gatimians are, like, not even from here. Gatimians are from basically a timeline that was completely erased. So they don't even have a history to reclaim. They basically have to, like, exert it upon where they live now, which is, like, an even more aggressive kind of, like, I hate to use the word queering because in literary theory it gets so, like, overdone and shit. But Gatimians basically, they're not just, like, outsiders. They shouldn't be. So they have to, like, aggressively assert their own identity and creation. Can I talk about Infernals?
We could talk a little bit about Infernals. I believe that was also spoiled on the Story Told podcast.
Infernals are punk as hell. Infernals are, like, anti-authoritarian to the max. Infernals are, like, the punk queer that hates everyone who could possibly be in charge, including the people that gave them their exaltations. So I love Infernals. I can't wait for you guys to see this shit.
Yeah, it's going to be so fucking good. I hate that we have to wait until probably next summer, if not later, for people to actually have a copy of this.
I know!
Well, since we're live, we'll cut the mid-episode breakdown real short.
Oh, okay.
First off, Nerdy Kepi sponsors
Nerdy
us.
Kepi.
Yeah, they're great. They have masks now.
Yeah, they do.
Yes. Please go buy a mask from Nerdy Kepi and use code BXPcast at checkout for 10% off. If you're enjoying the live show and got some spare dollars, I realize that not many people have spare dollars right now. You can subscribe to our Patreon. We'll still love you even if you don't. If you don't got the money because you're broke, because you don't have a job, because everything sucks, you can also just leave us a 5-star review and tell them how funny and cool you think we are. That actually, that really helps us find more listeners and get more ears on our show. And last but not least, if you liked Bonus Experience and want to hear people maybe talk differently about D&D, you can listen to the Misdirected Mark show, Down with D&D. Chris and the Mad Wizard Sean Merwin dish about everything D&D with a focus on the brand and the newest edition of the world's most popular tabletop RPG. Thus being the most ironic ad I've run on BXP. Now we'll move into the back half of the show, where we're gonna talk about some games we're not as familiar with, but like know about,
and they're like super gay.
But they're also still super gay. So I think
let's discover them together.
Okay, let's discover them together. First up, we have Queer Game Exhibit C, still within that traditional paradigm, is Blue Rose. Blue Rose actually used to have a D20 version, so shouldn't be too hard for you to make for your group to make that jump. So here, let me just read what Blue Rose has to say about itself. So from their own fucking website, because You couldn't Google it. I did it for you.
I'm really sorry.
Blue Rose is a fantasy tabletop role-playing game in which the players take the role of heroes in the world of Aldea, a setting inspired by works of the romantic fantasy genre. Connections to other characters matter as much as combat skills and magic in these stories of solving mysteries, righting wrongs, and daring heroics.
Yeah, okay.
All right, and then it defines romantic fantasy and how it applies to their setting by saying, romantic fantasy novels are often set in highly egalitarian societies, where people's occupations and aspirations are not limited by fixed gender roles. In these books, sexist or homophobic cultures and individuals are either ignorant and see the error of their ways somewhere in the series, or they are enemies who the heroes eventually vanquish. The heroes of romantic fantasy novels are usually environmentally conscious. Protecting wilderness areas and animals from depredation is a common plot element. In all romantic fantasy worlds, nature is a positive magical force, and anyone who protects it is on the side of good. Attitudes about magic also differ from other fantasy novels. Instead of the scholastic magic of some stories, magic is a rare and powerful discipline involving complex rituals and arcane lore, many characters have innate psychic or arcane powers as natural to them as sight and hearing. Heroic characters can often manipulate the natural elements and use their powers with nothing more than concentration and intent. These powers are an innate and positive part of someone's nature and are only feared by the ignorant or evil. So, like, by default, characters have express permission to be good to the world and to other people, have textual in-setting permissions to be gay, and have cool-ass powers.
I want to fucking play this game.
I want to play this game so bad.
Like, you were describing this, and I was just like, oh, it's Tamora Pierce, Song of the Lioness Quartet.
You were correct.
I was 10 or 11 when I read those, and they changed my fucking life. Like, wait, in the chat, they were talking about, like, the first, like, queer person that they experienced in media. I think the first time, I don't know if she counts as queer, but when I was, like, 10 or 11, I got on a real, like, girls disguised as guys kind of bent, and there wasn't a whole lot of that, like, gender transgressive, gender nonconforming stuff going on in young adult literature, so I fucking devoured shit like Tamora Pierce. I don't know that I could count Alana as my first queer character in media, but I think I'm going to, honestly.
I mean, it counts-ish. Also, when you were like, girls who have to hide their identities as boys, I was like, whew.
Oh boy.
Also, like, I've wanted to play Blue Rose real bad for a long time, like, since I was in college. Ever since someone told me that it'd be pretty good for a Nutena-esque game.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, right? So we actually have something in the works where we may actually get to play Blue Rose and record it and share it for you.
I really hope so.
Yeah.
I really hope so. Anyway.
So we'll put this out as our last exhibit, and I think this is probably maybe the furthest away from the traditional idea, but still close enough that I think your players you wouldn't be throwing them into the deep end. So Queer Game Exhibit D is Monster Hearts. So from Buried Without Ceremony, I'll just give you the description that they provide for us, which is Monster Hearts 2 lets you and your friends create stories about sexy monsters, teenage angst, personal horror, and secret love triangles. When you play, you explore the terror and confusion of having a body that is changing without your permission.
God, I want to play Monster Hearts. How have I not played Monster Hearts yet?
Oh man, I want to hear you do the thing where you break down queer themes in a literary theory way again. I'm making hard eyes at you, but you can't hear it.
Then we have to fucking play Monster Hearts, don't we? I mean, monsters are gay, teens are gay, the whole concept is extremely gay.
I mean, I want to play... I mean, like, the whole body changing and terror and confusion are all very queer themes, too.
Yes!
Yeah.
Ugh. I want to play Monster Hearts real bad.
All right, so do we want to shout out some indie games?
Sure.
Chat, if you have suggestions, put them in there, and you can promote yourself, too. That's fine.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
I mean, there's so many, like we said, there's so many gay indie games. We're supposed to only be a 30-minute show. Go to itch.io for something that looks like, who was it that said in the chat that like 80-90% of the games on itch.io are like gay in some way.
Yeah. Go browse itch for something that looks cool. What else are you gonna do with your quarantine time? Oh, Danielle points out that there's literally a game called Thirsty Sword Lesbians. Yes, there is, and I do desire to play it.
The first thing that came to my mind when we were talking about this is Americana. We had Liam Ginty on talking about Americana when their Kickstarter was live.
Yeah, we did.
You should go listen to that episode because not only is Liam great,
Mhm.
Americana by Sandy Pug Games is an amazing setting that I feel like anyone who wants D&D but gay would like love the fuck out of. You can play skeletons, goblins, orcs, elves in explicitly queer relationships and settings in a 50s themed America where institutional prejudice doesn't exist. Just fucking go get it. Go look it up, go get it. It's amazing.
Yes, it's on DTRPG, and I'm pretty sure there is a direct drive-through link to Sandy Pug's page on our BXP page. And if you use our affiliate code, Liam gets money and we get money. So
yeah, we get like 2 cents.
Yeah,
it's great.
Please give us please give Liam dollars and give us 2 cents.
Right.
I think I'm going to also toss out Prism by Little Wish Productions, which the game describes itself as, quote, an aquatic role-playing game about conflict resolution and relationships. Which, from knowing the creator, it's about queer mermaids, y'all.
What?
It's about gay mermaids.
What?
Yep.
How am I only now hearing about this? Cirrus says they don't think they've ever had a game of Masks that wasn't impossibly gay.
Cool. I like Masks is very much like a Teen Titans type game.
Oh boy.
It's very much in that theme. Like, I wouldn't recommend Masks as a general superheroes game, but Masks is fantastic if you want to play like a Teen Titans game.
Fuck
like,
yes.
It is meant to curate that experience specifically.
That's awesome.
Oh, Danielle says there's also a game called A Cozy Den about being a lesbian snake.
Okay.
Rob brought up Night Witches.
Night Witches, right? I've heard that Good Society has a lot of queerness baked into it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm so like I fucking like went to the website like, oh, it's like $30, but I really want Queer Society real bad.
Songs for the Dusk is posted in the chat, which is apparently a Forged in the Dark game about being adventurers wandering a sci-fi/magic wasteland trying to help anyone they can, and it puts a huge emphasis on community building.
Oh, that sounds awesome.
That sounds soft and warm.
Yeah.
World
which is
cold
so
and
unusual
hard.
for a
Songs
Forged
for the
in
Dusk,
Dark.
soft and warm.
I also at the end of the outline put in like I guess like anything from Jenna Moran. Like maybe am I not cool if I admit I don't know what most of her games are about?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I will put out there that Dr. Moran is also responsible for a lot of the gay rep, and like there's a whole fucking sidebar about explicitly giving people permission to be gay, and that being a thing you can engage with. There's a whole like how to deal with homosexuality from a cultural insetting perspective in a game that's set in a magical version of like 420 AD China.
Oh boy.
Yes. It's really good though. And especially if you consider that it was written in 2000.
Oh, Jenna Moran.
I
Dr.
think
Moran.
stuff like Nobilis and Chubo's something wish, some engine.
Chubo's Marvelous Wish Granting
Engine. Yes, thank you. But yeah, I'm pretty sure they're gay. I own Nobilis 3rd edition, and it's something I would also it's up right up there with Blue Rose with things I always wanted to try. Yeah, the gayness sidebar in Weapons of the Gods aged well.
The gayness sidebar.
Yeah, there's a sidebar. There's literally a sidebar that's like, because there's a whole section, because lore sheets in Weapons of the Gods are like, the Vampire Fist stole them. Danielle confirms Nobilis is hella gay.
Okay, we have 2. It's officially vetted.
Well, like, there's a whole bunch of things about, like, both the cultural attitudes from, 4th century AD China, Magic China being, like, the setting, and then, like, Taoist attitudes towards homosexuality and how that is with, like, your qi and yin and yang and all that, like, from the particular cultural perspective, explaining if you want, and all lore sheets are strictly opt-in, so, like, if you're like, I want to engage with being a homosexual person in the setting, in the way the culture says, here's how I do it. And then there's a sidebar basically being like, why is this here? And the sidebar that says, why is this here is basically like, because gay people are real. Fuck you.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, and it really did age well.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Moran.
Does anybody have any other suggestions for us?
No,
we gotta wrap it up. We gotta wrap it up. Oh, and Rob recommends Turn by Bo Sheldon.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Bo Sheldon, didn't Bo Sheldon create one of the safety tools we talked about in our safety episode?
We sure did.
Yeah. I
script
gotta
change.
look into that. Yes. I know script change was like lauded by a bunch of industry bigwigs.
Yeah.
All right, for real though.
For
we
real
gotta
though.
go.
You
I
gotta
love hanging
go.
out with y'all, but we gotta go.
Okay.
You gotta go. I
gotta work.
All right, Monica.
Yes.
Where can they find our show?
at bxpcast.com, part of the Misdirected Mark Network.
Bing. How about if they wanted to email us?
If they wanted
Are you
to email
checking our
us-
email?
Yeah, if they want to email us
Yeah.
with suggestions for more gay games, or perhaps to send us a copy of your gay game that we could read and talk about how cool it is,
Hell yeah.
yeah, you could send them to bonusexpcast@gmail.com.
What about Twitter, though? Could they just at us on Twitter?
Yeah, if they want to add us on Twitter and be like, hey, I'm a queer game designer and I would love to talk to you or show off my stuff. If you want to flex at us on Twitter, at bonusexpcast.
Yeah. All right. What about you, though? Do you have a Twitter?
I do, and you can follow me if you want to. I'm pretty gay. It's at Zenith Sun.
You can follow me too if you want. I can be pretty gay sometimes. I'm at Ray W. Cole. No more underscore. Oh God, is that it?
I think it is.
All right, everybody get out. We gotta go.
We got things to do. Get out of here.
Bye. I love everybody.
All right. Mwah.
Change it if you want to.
Change it if you want to. Oodly doodly.
That was me making the stop recording sound.
Okay.
Do I have to do this? Ugh, fine. Bonus Experience is written and produced by Monica and Ray, and edited by Margaret. Our logo and art is by Nino Studios. Find her on Facebook and Instagram. Our theme song is Reused Noise with the Light by CDK, and is used under the Attribution Non-Commercial Creative Commons license. BXP is part of the Misdirected Mark Network. I'm not reading this. Fuck it.